Hey everyone, Geophysicist Stefan Burns here. Welcome to the live stream, late night show, but it's not Saturday, it's Sunday night. That is when this high-speed stream of solar wind came in, triggering this G3 minus geomagnetic storm. So this is an illustration that shows effectively what is happening right now to our planet energetically based on the space weather conditions. You have these zones on the sun that are dark, low in plasma in the outer corona. They have these magnetic fields that are open, connect to the Earth, and they have these high-speed streams of wind, solar wind, ions basically, at higher velocities than normal that go by, and they compress Earth's magnetic field, triggering geomagnetic storms. And well, with the geomagnetic storm, you get intense electrical currents flowing through the Earth. And so it's a sequence of events that leads to perhaps certain things waking up on the planet, because it's electric currents flowing through structures that often at times causes them to finally wake up or undergo that destabilization sequence. A clear example of this would be a very powerful electric current passing over a fault, and then that fault ruptures because it was already at a critical stress, and that electric current destabilized the mineral structure enough to then cause that stress to release, and boom, earthquake. So we do have this connection down the line going from the sun to our space environment to the Earth and to what happens on the Earth geophysically, geologically. So hi everyone, welcome to the live stream. I'm your host Stefan Burns. Yes, my shirt. I am wearing just like a proof of concept shirt for 3i Atlas. And I figured some of you may want this. I'm not sure how well you can see the back, but my dad has this artwork that he painted back in, I think like 2008 or something, of this meteor impact. And I really thought that was perfect for 3i Atlas. So I'm thinking about putting this on the website. So if you'd like to get one, let me know, and I will then use that kind of data and say whether or not I'll offer it. But it'd be pretty easy to offer this to everybody as some merch, some new merch, the Interstellar 3i Atlas merch. So it looks like some people want one. Yeah, and we'll talk about more what's on the Earth Evolution website soon, later in the live stream. We just mixed up a new batch of herb coffee. So if you want to get fresh, I mean, it's always fresh. It sells out so fast. But like ultra fresh, then you can pick up some herb coffee too, because we just mixed that up. We're actually, because of the big birthday sale, having to mix up a whole bunch of things back to back to back. So just a short sleeve. Yeah, this is a long sleeve. And I kind of like the long sleeve because we're getting into fall. So I'm not sure I'll offer it in short sleeve, but maybe. To get back on track, here we have the coronal hole on the sun that is triggering this high-speed stream. So it's a very large trans-equatorial coronal hole with a negative polarity, meaning it connects very nicely to Earth's magnetic field. And the forecast for this was a G1. So they're like, G1 storm. I would have been updating you guys over the past few days about this. I mean, I released videos before that on this and talked about the geomagnetic storm we had coming up right around this time, but I didn't have an update over the past couple of days because I was doing some coursework. I had a weekend course on biofield tuning, level 1. So that was all Friday, all Saturday, all Sunday, and yeah, it's been a lot. So I'm here now with a live stream after the Sunday course, but that's why I didn't update you like yesterday, guys, saying, hey, we have one coming in tomorrow. That update was a few videos ago, or a few days ago. But this is a coronal hole. It has now entered into a geoeffective position. Right here is when we had that 7.4 earthquake in Russia, aftershock to that magnitude 8.8 megaquake. I'm going to make a video on that. I'm not going to talk about that in this video, but I'm going to make a dedicated video on that because I think it's actually speaking to a larger energy trend that we're currently in with earthquakes. And this pinging back and forth, it's antipodal. It's very interesting. And as this went geoeffective with that high-speed stream, we had that superior conjunction with Mercury on the far side of the sun. So this really nicely established electric circuit basically materialized. And well, it's no surprise that this was a G3 minus geomagnetic storm because of the planetary resonances. I talked about the significant, or you could even say critical, heliocentric planetary geometry active right now and a little bit before, a little bit after today. So that all kind of combines together. And while the official forecast is for a G1, guys, G3 minus. So boom, hit us really quick. Let's check out our geomagnetic indices, because you will see what I'm talking about. Look at this. This came in very, very fast and very, very strong. So here we have our HB30 index as provided by GFC Potsdam. And it started off, our geomagnetic volatility was low. So basically, Earth's magnetic field was pretty stable, just kind of there. Yo, I'm protecting the Earth. We're good, we good. And then you get this high-speed stream impact to come in. Again, this guy right here, right? This coronal hole rotates into position, pushes Earth's magnetic field. The solar wind velocity is about 700 kilometers per second right now. It ramped up really quick. And there was a big shock wave right at the beginning of it too. And well, because of that, look at what happened. We ramped up all the way from quiet conditions under 2 to 7 really quickly. So this is 7 right there for an hour. This is a 30-minute bar. Each one of these is 30 minutes. That's a 6.33 for 30 minutes, back to 7 for an hour, and then 6.67 right there. So this came in as a 3-hour measure, which is the KP index, as a 6.67 or a G3 minus geomagnetic storm. Here we have our real-time solar wind as provided by NOAA. This is for the past 7 days. We can see that our conditions were quiet. We did have this G2 shock there. I discussed that in a prior live stream about 5 days ago. And our solar wind velocity got very, very low in advance of this high-speed stream. So it went down all the way to about 320 kilometers per second. Look how quickly now we've gone to 700 kilometers per second. Really fast, and that's why we ramped up so quickly here. So we had a G1 storm for 3 hours as this first bit of volatility came in, and then right to 6.67 for this last one. Now we're back in G1 conditions because this has kind of shallowed out. Let's punch in on that with our 3-day view, because we don't need to see all 7 days. And we can actually go in even a little further. So let's do this right like that. So here is basically last 2.5 days or so. And we see our velocity went up really quickly. Solar wind density dropped. We get that with coronal hole high-speed streams. And that's something that we watch for big earthquakes, is these density drops. And so, well, we have that back in play once again. And then we see our interplanetary magnetic field up here. So what is that? We're measuring the magnetic field strength in interplanetary space, in between the planets and the sun, right? Just in our solar system. What's the strength of that? This is specifically is at the L1 point, 1% the distance from the Earth to the sun. So it's like a forward probe, just slightly ahead of the Earth, and a gravitational sweet spot gives us about a 30-minute to 60-minute heads up, depending on the speed. With this speed, about like a 40-minute heads up or so. So we see the solar wind strength went up. It went all the way up to 20 nanotesla. I mean, check this out. Went up to 20 right there, negative 13. That red line is the southward component. When it goes negative, that means there's a good connection with the Earth. And so we were cruising there with this like shock wave right there. 18 nanotesla, 16, 17. Normal is 5. We go back here, right? We can actually see that we had enhanced levels, but we kind of got close to normal. Normal is about 5. So you go up to 20, you're 4 times stronger than normal. And you get that southward component to flip. Look at this, 17 and negative 17. That's how you get a G3 minus geomagnetic storm. Now the strength is about double average. So that's 10 nanotesla. Average again is 5. And it went up to 6 positive direction for the BZ. So we're not going to have another big increase in geomagnetic volatility until this kind of flings to the south again, and maybe this strengthens up a bit more. But we're certainly going to continue to have G1 storming, G2 as well, I think, with some of these substorms. We're at G1 levels right now, but we quickly ramped up to G3 levels. So we have different categorizations of geomagnetic storms, G1 to G5. And, well, G3 means you're in a strong storm and it starts to become important as it relates to our technological infrastructure. So G1 storm, you can get these little power grid fluctuations, maybe satellites get affected, you know, very sensitive animals like birds and maybe sea turtles, bats and more, they may get affected. Aurora will be common, especially at super high latitudes. In the Arctic and Antarctic circles, you'll see aurora very nicely. If you're in the United States right now and you're in high latitudes, or if you're in Canada, you have to get out right now and look for aurora, because now's the time. I mean, really the time was like an hour or 90 minutes ago. But tonight you have great aurora viewing as a result of the storm. So keep that in mind if you're in the mid to high latitudes. I mean, there's even, I saw on my Twitter, someone posted a video, a photo of like kind of red glow and a bit of aurora from Kansas. So like people are seeing them far south too. If you have good clear skies, dark night, the moon is about 3/4, so it's not a full moon. Should have good aurora viewing conditions right there. We'll look at the real-time forecast in just a little bit. G2 is when things start to kind of ramp up in terms of technological disruption, but it's really once you get to G3, it's like, okay, satellites can really get affected by this, right? Here it says aurora may be seen as low as Illinois or Oregon. It can go lower than that. Again, I just talked about how, you know, one person took a photo from Kansas. But these new cameras and photos, everyone has cameras and phones and everything, so that's why we're seeing more sightings from lower latitudes, one reason why. Power system voltage corrections may be required. So G3 storm can be significant. I don't know of any disruptions that have occurred from this one yet. It's unlikely that we will get anything from this one, but just highlighting what is possible during a geomagnetic storm. We are having these powerful telluric currents flow through the Earth right now. So we can look at our geoelectric field map, in fact. Let's check that out. It's not one that we check out often, but let's give it a look. For North America, we have a nice model that we can examine. And we see that right here. And it's kind of fast on the flashing. So let me get this scaled. And I wonder if I do this, it'll look better. We'll keep it the way it is. But here's our time range, okay? And let me go back. This is for about the past 3 hours. So here's our scale, okay? If we start to get into these hot colors, that means, look right there. There's that big pulse of activity. These are electric currents flowing through the Earth itself. And so you see that they're stronger at higher latitudes because they get stronger magnetic flux. But we also see it going down deeper into the continental United States during that main shock of that coronal hole high-speed stream. And it's really the leading edge of it, which is the co-rotating interaction region, where the high-speed solar wind piles up with the lower velocity solar wind, kind of creates a denser structure that sweeps by, and then you get like lower density, higher velocity solar wind to sweep by really quickly. But we had that pulse, electric currents just kind of lit up and just flowed through the Earth, and we know that these things flow through kind of like in a fractal dendritic pattern, so the entire Earth just being like kind of electrified. And we know that there are some pretty big fault systems here. So a lot of big fault systems across the planet that haven't really done anything for a while now. For example, New Madrid, last big earthquake sequence there was late 1800s, but really the big ones was 1812. So these sort of electric currents, you know, they've been building up stress. These sort of electric currents can interact with faults in significant ways. And the electric currents get stronger the deeper you go. You also have something called a PN junction. This is a type of semiconductor junction, but we have that also in the deep Earth. It's hypothesized. We have evidential data for that. what happens is you go from being in an electron deficient mineral regime, that would be the p-type semiconductor, where you have positive holes, p holes, and then at n-type is where you have an abundance of free electrons. And so you can get these electric circuit dynamics to form. But you get these electric currents flowing stronger and stronger in their amperage the deeper you go, because the Earth heats up and becomes more conductive. And so these telluric currents can reach millions of amperes in strength. And well, the most common zone for earthquakes is, from the surface down to about 150 kilometers. So that zone, that PN junction, is about 35 kilometers down. It's not that deep. So it can really start to build powerful electric currents when you get these sort of influences pumping through the Earth. And well, the storm has just started. I think the main shock is behind us. That we've had that big main shock, this guy right here. I don't think we're going back to G3 conditions for this. It's possible. I don't think it's going to occur though. I think we're going to stay G1, G2. It really depends on this solar wind strength. But we've seen weirder things before. And well, one of the weird things happening right now that is kind of responsible, partly responsible for this being stronger than expected, is the fact that we had a superior conjunction of Mercury. And this is what I was talking about, because we see all the time with the superior conjunctions of Mercury enhance space weather and solar activity. So because Mercury is super close to the sun, and it really seems to interact with the electric field that's created by the sun, and triggering flares, and just kind of amplifying the electric current. So we have that coronal hole exactly connected to us, and as that's happening, Mercury there is on the far side directly opposite the Earth. So you get a gravitational alignment, you get an electromagnetic field circuit to form. Let's check out this video here, because this is pretty interesting. I may have to refresh this. Let me refresh this. Because one of the things that Mercury's superior conjunctions seem to do is trigger solar activity. And so here we have the past month of our coronagraph for the sun. So we can see these sort of things flying off. Solar flares, well, more so coronal mass ejections. But let's watch this. You're going to see Mercury show up. It's going to be this bright dot. It's on the other side of the sun, okay? And anytime you get that flash, that's called Earth shine. It's because this is a geostationary satellite looking at the sun. It tracks it, but then sometimes once a day, the Earth gets in front of it in relation to the sun. So you get that flash. So if you're sensitive to flashing lights, then I would not watch this sequence here, because we're going to continue to get that, but I'll do my best to limit it. Here we see Mercury now coming in for superior conjunctions. Bright because it's on the far side of the sun, right? There's our Earth shine. Look at this. Right here on the 10th, we're still on the 8th, sorry. On the 9th, yeah, on the 9th, wait, after this one, we get this big far side coronal mass ejection there that launched towards Mercury, right? So as Mercury's coming in, it seemed to destabilize a sunspot group, which was totally quiet the whole time it was Earth facing for like 2 weeks. It was big, it was pumped up, ready to go, did not flare in any significant way. And then the moment it rotates into view of Mercury, which is also moving, swinging in front of it, we see that it has this big coronal mass ejection right here. So it should be right there. Boom, we get that big coronal mass ejection launching out effectively towards Mercury on the 9th of September. And then if we go forward a bit to today, watch how Mercury appears now on the other side. And today, we had a big coronal mass ejection launched from the far side. Guess what? In the direction of Mercury once again. So this Mercury superior conjunction really nicely illustrates how Mercury can have an effect on space weather and solar activity, and how that's not to be discounted. This is all planetary geometry, and also understanding the larger electromagnetic system of our solar system. And if we just zoom out to our kind of our far view coronagraph here, we can see Mercury once more. But that superior conjunction just unfolded. So we are out of that superior conjunction, but look at that. There's that far side coronal mass ejection. That's not launching towards us, but it is launching towards Mercury. So I was looking, I knew, you can track out these planetary resonances months, years, decades in advance. So we knew we had this superior conjunction coming up. And I was telling you guys less than a week ago, hey, like expect some, paired with that coronal hole and all this stuff, expect some significant space weather. And lo and behold, G3 minus. So that is what happened. Let's look at our real-time aurora right here. See what this is showing. This may or may not be useful. Kind of depends. And we'll look at it for the northern hemisphere, because for the southern hemisphere, it would need to be a bigger storm to really reach significantly. And is there a better way to, maybe I zoom out on this? Yeah, I think that's better. So we're going to watch this pulse, and it's going to start to pulse pretty soon. This is like a 24-hour running model. There we go. Really big. Whoa, there we go. There's our G3 minus. It's maintaining, holding pretty well. Has cooled off just a little bit, but this storm has just started. So there's at least 12 more hours that we can expect of there being enhanced geomagnetic volatility. I say at least probably 24 more hours, but again, probably not all at G3 levels. I think that G3 pulse is probably the biggest one we got, but maybe you felt that. We were in this, I took a biofield tuning class, so that's very energy intensive and it's a whole group thing. And so at the end, the storm was just coming in. I was like, guys, everyone please go outside and ground, especially if you're flying out tonight, tomorrow, because this is happening like right now. So yeah, we have had some earthquake activity. We just had this 5.5 in India today in less than 24 hours. That was a pretty significant earthquake. I'll talk about that 7.4 Russia in a different video in about 2 days or so, because that's a developing story still. I would have liked to have covered it live for you guys. I would have, but I was in the middle of all this coursework. So apologies for that. But we did have this 5.5 here in India, right at the border of the Himalayas. And it looks like it was a yellow pager. So felt by some people, not the biggest earthquake, depth of 29 kilometers, but significant. And also looks like there was another one kind of nearby. Yeah, down here. I don't know what the size of this one is. Let's find out. 4.6 in Burma. So some activity there. Of course, we had that magnitude 7.7 in Burma near Thailand back on March 29th, I believe it was, or 28th. Maybe March 28th of this year. That was a big 7.7. That was the biggest earthquake of the year until we had that mega quake. But in general, earthquake activity since that 7.4 has been elevated actually, because we were there was a point just a few days ago where like even getting magnitude 5s is like kind of getting difficult. We were having a lot of magnitude 4s, but we haven't been having a magnitude 6 earthquakes since that 7.5. I can go to the 7-day really quick, and we'll use this one here. And so we have it set for largest magnitude, but this 6.4 there was back on the 8th. So if we go to newest earthquakes, and actually let's set for magnitude 4.5. We'll see this 7.4 right here. Again, that Kamchatka quake. It's been basically nonstop swarming there for a while. So is there going to be another? That's something that I'll talk about in the next video. But look at all these. We don't see any magnitude 6s, that 5.5 being the most notable there in India. So that's the earthquake activity. And our DST index, another measure of geomagnetic volatility that is useful to look at. Let's just update this to get it fresh. It is getting close to negative 100 nanotesla. So the DST index measures effectively the strength of the ring current flowing across the equator of the planet. Because you have a whole bunch of different things. The Earth magnetosphere plasmasphere system is super complicated, okay? Like, we thought it was very simple back in the 50s. We had these theoretical models that were like, oh, this is what it is. The moment we sent probes out is like, whoa, this is way more complex than we thought. So everything had to be reevaluated. So you have Earth's magnetic field, and you have these auroral currents up top and these circuits and a whole bunch of stuff happening in the polar regions. But you also have this flow of ions, actually multiple of them. But imagine like this hula hoop around the Earth, constantly spinning, right? Earth is constantly shaking its hip, keeping that hula hoop up. That's the ring current. During a geomagnetic storm, it gets stronger. So when that current, electric current, gets stronger, it generates a magnetic field in the equatorial regions that decreases the magnetic field strength there, because an electric current will generate a magnetic field. So when this goes down, that means the ring current is stronger. And one of the primary ions that helps increase the strength of that ring current are in fact oxygen ions. So oxygen from the atmosphere gets ionized, expands out to the ring current. Because it has high weight, all of a sudden now that ring current really gets supercharged, and for about 24 hours it will get enhanced, and that strength of the magnetic field in the equatorial area will go down. So that's how we measure this ring current enhancement, is with equatorial magnetometers. So it's going down to about -100. That's not the biggest thing ever, but lately the geomagnetic storms have been struggling to get below -100 for some reason. But I wanted to point that out. Let's talk a little bit about magnetic induction. I think this is the first video here. Yeah, so Faraday's law, a pulsed magnetic field interacts with electric circuits producing electromotive forces, i.e. electric currents of power corresponding to the strength of the magnetic field and the conductivity of the circuit. This is electromagnetic induction, and it occurs because the changing magnetic field stimulates the movement of charged carriers like electrons and ions. And so the very clear example for this is that you have this high conductivity coil, which we have here with this copper wire, and you have this permanent magnet moving in and out of the coil, inducing these electrons to flow, and that then goes here. We see the voltage, it's changing depending on whether the magnet's moving in or out, and that turns the light bulb on or off. Same thing happens with the Earth. So we have these telluric currents that form because you have these magnetic field fluctuations. The Earth is actually quite conductive. Geologic materials are about 10 to -7 Siemens or better. So salt water, for example, is like it's like 2 or 3 Siemens. Seimens. It's named after the German guy from back around the time of Einstein, the company. So salt water is very conductive. You get a moving a magnetic field over salt water, and it'll absorb those electric currents. So if you're near the ocean right now, if you were to go out in the ocean, then you're getting those electric currents to flow through your body. That's being generated by these geomagnetic field fluctuations. Well, the Earth is fairly conductive too. It's not like plastic. Plastic, you're not going to really get anything induced in it. Everything has some level of conductivity, but something like plastic rubber totally disconnects you. So, but natural materials are naturally conductive. They allow for the flow of this energy. So the Earth is quite conductive, and these telluric currents flow through the Earth at all times, and they're made stronger by geomagnetic storms. And so that can cause these power failures because you have a lot of electric currents buried, cables buried underground, or you have a transmission line that's strung up, traveling for hundreds of kilometers. It's a very powerful, it's a very thick cable, very conductive. These magnetic field fluctuations can induce really large currents on those transmission cables. And so as a result of these enhanced telluric currents, you can overload the system and cause these failures. But it's the same concept with faults and earthquakes and perhaps even volcanoes. If you have some magma reservoir that is loaded up with a bunch of volatile gas, but it's pressurized and capped, so it's all under extreme heat and pressure, and then you get add electric current to it, like you're zapping it like this, like bzzz, like that could cause it just to go boom. So it's not like we see that all the time, but certainly what we do notice, if you look through the record and you also just keep an eye on this, you'll notice that significant events, historically and also in modern times, they seem to cluster around these sort of geomagnetic storms and just in general, like enhanced space weather and planetary resonances and things of that nature. Full moons, new moons, all of them seem to cluster around them. It's not a guarantee. There's other forces at play. Volcano finally reaches that pressure, it explodes. It's not a full moon. It's not like it needs a full moon, but there's just like a little bit of a tipping the scales factor. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of days with Earth energies and everything because of this G3 minus storm. Again, that's a strong storm, G3. So that is very powerful. And one thing that you should do during these geomagnetic storms is you should be grounding yourself. So actually, before I did this live stream, I was out at the park grounding, getting my bare feet on the ground. And so that's very important to do. Sometimes these storms hit during the day, or you don't have a place where you can go barefoot, right? Maybe there's like a dog park. You don't want to go barefoot there. Or you live in the city. Well, earthing shoes are really great because concrete's still fairly conductive. Asphalt is not conductive. But you can just walk around, peace of mind, knowing that you're completely grounded with these earthing shoes. These are provided by me. They're made in Turkey. They're 100% organic and natural. This is my website, earthevolution.com/store. You can see the URL right there. And we have a whole bunch of organic, holistic wellness products like all organic tea blends that we make and mix ourselves, sourced from really good people. Merch like the Boom Shakalaka t-shirt. Also the Pahoa t-shirt, or the Pahoa shirt, is back in stock. There is some limited availability, but we do have stock on that. So if you've been waiting on that, you can get that. Some other things as well, but these earthing shoes are really fantastic. And I would highly recommend to pick up a pair. Someone actually in my class, she is a fan of the channel. Quite a few people from the channel were actually taking the class, so that was cool to meet all of you. If you're watching this, hi. And she had her earthing shoes with her, and they're awesome. So these are really, really great, especially for moments like this, because this energy is not only passing through the earth, it's also passing through you. And it can just, in general, trigger certain changes, health symptoms. It can also be super beneficial if you know how to use it. But if you want to use this energy, it's best to be grounded first. Just like your electrical appliances, right? It's good to be grounded. And then from that grounded, centered, a little bit more not chaotic state, you can then kind of work with these earth energies and apply them. Also, we see during geomagnetic storms increased dream activity. So vivid dreams, lucid dreams. So that is also something to be mindful of. And in general, earthing also seems to promote dream activity. I've done a bunch of deep research on earthing. I'm talking about sleeping out in a tent for months at a time, tracking this stuff, in addition to reading every paper out there and all the others, tangent, everything. So you see how this is all connected. The earthing, the geomagnetic storms, they're working with the same systems, your dream space, right? Your metabolism. Earthing seems to help you lose weight, keep weight off, stay slim, healthy with a good metabolism. That really does seem to be the case. The more often you're earthing, you may just notice yourself like losing weight kind of effortlessly. Because think about fat. Fat is insulating. So when you're connected to the earth, you are not insulating yourself. You're not resistive. You are conductive. And so that's very good for your body in general. There's a whole bunch of things I talk about. It's great for longevity. So check this out at earthevolution.com/store. There's some other things there too. But it's really important while we have these really powerful geoelectric currents to be earthing. So barefoot is best, but there's also times where that's just not practical. And these shoes are great because most people have rubber-soled shoes and they have to wear them, so may as well be grounded rather than not. That is at least my philosophy. So yeah, pretty powerful geomagnetic storm at this moment in time. Let's update our real-time solar wind to see what's happening right now. And welcome all to the live stream if you're just jumping in, or if you're here already, hello. Thank you for joining us, for being here. And yeah, at 700 kilometers per second for the velocity, and our solar wind has, the interplanetary magnetic field has kind of cooled off a bit. This was definitely the shock wave there. And we see how we entered into that negative polarity from that coronal hole, which is a negative polarity. Now the big thing is the density is dropping, the velocity is going to stay high. So we have an earthquake watch now, I'd say in effect for about the next 3 to 5 days. Probably up to 5 days. This is a pretty big coronal hole. Let's go back to that. And if you're wondering what this web page is, by the way, this is the earthevolution.com/energy-analytics page. Just bookmark this and set this to open up every time you load up your web browser, because it has all the different things there. So you can look at the Schumann resonances, you can look at global seismic activity, you can look at the radiation belts, aurora models, real-time views of the sun, sunspots, magnetograms, even planetary resonances. We can check out with our model. Normally I load up the app, but let's use our online model. Let's check out the heliocentric planetary resonances that we have in effect right now, because this is another factor that very well correlated with these stronger energy waves that come through. So there's not a way for me to blow this up. We're not going to spend too long here because it is kind of zoomed in for you guys. But just look right here. Here's our Mercury superior conjunction, Earth, Sun, Mercury. And if we zoom here, look at how heliocentric-wise we have the Sun, Venus, and Jupiter in a line. And if we zoom over, right, look, here's Earth, Saturn, Neptune in a line, Mercury there as well. So we have that planetary geometry also in effect. This is like a 37-year cycle, so that's pretty significant. If we zoom out, we see that Pluto and Uranus are in this arrangement perfectly geometrically with Neptune and Saturn. So there's a very significant planetary geometry that's active at this moment in time. And that's why I've been forecasting, actually forecasted out that we would have some significant space weather right at this time window, I think like 2.5 months ago. I have a spreadsheet. You could go, it'd be difficult, but you could go back to one of my live streams like 2.5 months ago and I talked about this. Because that's the beauty of planetary resonances, is that it is a well-known factor in advance in time because the planets do their thing. And this is work building off of the work of J.H. Nelson and, well, G3 minus storm. So you know it works. You know it works. And that's why I love this stuff. So bookmark this website so you can track all this. That's what I recommend. I have this load up every single time I turn on my browser on my laptop. And oh yeah, let's check out these magnetic fluctuations directly. Normally I show this first. But this is the geomagnetic storm that we are in right now. This is only 3 hours of data. So this is a pretty fresh data feed. It's not 24 hours. So all the pulses here that you're seeing have occurred over the past 3 hours. So some really big increases in the magnetic flux across our planet. And you'll also notice that the shading in here is also quite strong. Here's our scale. So this is in nanotesla, and actually it goes beyond 400 too, because a strong geomagnetic storm will send these fluctuations way over 400 nanotesla. But if you see here, this is like 100, 150 nanotesla in some of these regions there. So these are pretty significant swings for the planet, even in these mid-latitude and equatorial zones. So the entire planet right now is vibrating with this intense geomagnetic flux, and as a result with these strong electric currents. And that's going to continue so long as the storm is going. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens as it relates to volcanic activity, as it relates to earthquake activity over the next 3 to 5 days. I will keep you up to date every step of the way, so please subscribe to the channel. I've been your host, Stefan Burns, and I will make this Interstellar 3i Atlas t-shirt available on the website in the next day or so. Because a lot of you said you want one. So I'll put that up there if you want to get that, check that out. I'll do that as soon as possible. I can probably do that after the live stream ends. And there's other things there, the earthing shoes and more. So Yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Wishing all of you well. Please take care of yourselves. These sort of storms can be very, very taxing and stressful on the body. In general, they do activate cortisol. So be mindful of that. Take that extra melatonin gummy to help you sleep tonight if it's nighttime. If you're wide awake, you're in an area that's getting these intense fluctuations, go outside. You may see the aurora tonight. This is solar cycle 25 maximum. You don't get the opportunity to see the aurora all the time. I'm in sunny San Diego, so I don't have the opportunity. We actually have overcast skies right now, so I'm not going to see them. But if you're in these areas, please do that. You won't regret it, especially if you're up already. Go outside, check it out. You may be surprised. And even your phone, like a 3-minute, the 3-second exposure could pick it up. Maybe do a 10-second exposure on your phone for a photo. That may pull out some red glow or some of these things. You want to point it north. So because these fluctuations are occurring to the north. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you want to point it south. So just figure out where north is, find that dark sky, set it up, boom, you may be surprised what you pick up on the camera. So thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all in a future video. Tomorrow we got an update because we have a big asteroid zooming by the planet like pretty closely on the 18th. So that'll be tomorrow's video. Make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on that, 3i Atlas and more. And I'll see you all very, very soon. Thanks so much.